I get a lot of DMs, people asking me, how do I get faster? How do I find my PRs? And usually when someone says they want to improve, they want to get super fast, I'm always kind of like, why? I got really fast, and what did it do for me? I think everyone should have fun and enjoy your bike ride. But I get the questions. My friend Mitch has been going for some PRs on his channel. He asked for some tips. So I thought this would be a good chance to put it all in one place and answer all your questions. How to get KOMs, how to get PRs, how to improve, all in one spot. So Mitch is helping me film this video. So he's over here.
Feel free to be ruthless.
No, the good news is, here's your compliment. It's not that bad.
Okay, I'll take it.
So Mitch went for 3 different KOMs, and it's kind of a good variety of different distances to help illustrate my points. The first one you did, Observatory Climb, which is super short. This is a minute long. And for a minute effort, in every effort, you want to kind of think, how can you break it up? So there's a few points. One, if the climb has a variety, has a variation to it, you want to gauge your effort in proportion to the climb. So if there's, if the climb has a downhill, you want to be coasting on the downhill. So you want your power to sort of be consistent with the gradient. And the steeper the climb, the harder you want to push in the steepest sections. You get a flat section on, I recently did a video on the Madone. There's some dynamic portions. Roca Corba had a couple downhills. So you'll see like my power is steady when the climb is steady, and then my power will dip when the climb dips. The first one that you went for was super short, super steep. And the thing with an effort, if it's a minute-long effort, you think there's no pacing, but there absolutely is. It is very easy to blow up, I would say, on a short effort. It's easy to just start sprinting. You didn't quite do that. I'm seeing the very beginning, I am seeing you hit 1,000 watts. So that's, it's not perfect pacing. But to be fair to you, you're never going below 600. I think you hold the effort pretty solid. So the risk of sprinting at the beginning is that you're doing 200 watts at the end. What you have here is kind of a positive split, so you're pushing the first bit, which isn't the worst thing because you're also getting speed and momentum at the beginning. But I would want to see it. I want to see you go in fast to get the speed up, and then settle down, and then be able to push kind of what you're pushing the first 20 seconds. I'd like to see that in the last 20 seconds. Instead. But I know what this feels like. So I'm not going to fault you for it. And you started strong and you finished strong. The next one you did on Ferndale, on the other side of Griffith Park, I think the mistake that most people do, and this is the thing, especially if you're new, you're doing these efforts, and don't be hard on yourself if you don't pace it perfect, because you don't really know what you can do for 5 minutes until you do a 5-minute all-out effort. So the process. And I started this process in 2004, but you do a 5-minute effort, you see what your best power is. That power chart is going to look like shit. It's going to be up and down, it's going to fall apart at the end, but at the end of it, you're going to have, okay, for 5 minutes, I did 389. So the next time you go for a 5-minute effort, you just try to do a steady 395. Maybe achieving that, you'll fall apart a little bit, but you'll keep improving, and you just try to notch it up one, be patient, and don't look at your life step and think, like, okay, today I'm going to hold 500 for 5 minutes for the first time in my life, when my previous best was 400. And that's the thing that goes all the way to the world tour. Everybody does that. So there's no... I would say the Ferndale, it's a longer effort. This is the longest effort you go for, and I think this is the one where I see the most improvement. Like your heart rate is just creeping up the whole time, but your power goes down. And also, to be easier on you, the gradient on Ferndale does decrease towards the top. Flat, that last bit is flat, so it's okay to consider your finish line kind of 500 meters to go, knowing that you're going to fall apart in the last flat bit, but you're not really going to lose that much time. But maybe not this empty. No. So I would just look at it like, from this, whatever your average is at the end of this. Say you end up at the end of this and it's 350 you did for 6 minutes. Next time, go into it and do 350 for the first 5 minutes, and then empty the tank the last minute, and now you'll have 30 more watts. And obviously you want to go in fresh. You do these at the same day, right? These 3 efforts.
Back to back.
Yeah, so you those loaded up. So in an individual effort, you're going to do better next time for sure. Yeah, I can feel this, and I can feel your observatory effort, which is still in there. Did you go to Trails for a cookie in between at least? That's a tip and trick. Get a cookie between efforts, because your computer auto stops. Any effort, I have the rule of thirds is kind of the most useful, and this applies to a minute effort, and it applies to a 2-hour effort. The first third, assuming that the gradient is steady, that's kind of what we have to go with. But I like to say the first third, you want to be thinking in your head, thinking easy. Even if it's even if it's a minute long, if you think easy, and then the middle third, you're going to think, here's Mitch retching. The middle third, you want to think steady. And then the final third is when you want to, now it can feel like it's hard. And I find if that's how it feels mentally, that's the perceived exertion is the technical term for how it feels. If that's a perceived exertion, your power file will actually be flat from those. So easy, steady, hard. That was kind of day one Coach Fastcat lessons, and your power file will be flat. People ask a lot about cadence. I think cadence is a very overrated topic. People have cadence goals, they watch races, they see people spinning. I think as you get more experience, you'll be better at spinning a faster cadence, you'll get more efficient at that. It is worth putting in some work and making sure you're capable of efficiently spinning a high RPM, high being 110. But generally, when you're doing an effort, I wouldn't have a cadence goal. I would let your sort of legs dictate it. What'll happen naturally is the beginning of an effort, you'll sort of have a high cadence. That's when your body's fresh and you're using your lungs more. And then you'll find as the effort progresses, your cadence will get lower, and now you're just using your muscles and you're draining kind of one system at a time. But I think you're hitting your muscle strain and using more torque than you'd probably want to. I remember, this is how old I remember when they weren't allowed to have cars on that section. There was no parking there until
Really?
3 years ago. Yeah,
Oh, man,
they reopened it. I was afraid they were going to open Mount Hollywood next, and they didn't. Griffith Park is the crown jewel of if you live in the city. It's incredible. The 2 climbs now that are closed to traffic. Used to be 3. All right, and then your last effort is the wonderfully named Trash Truck Hill. I promise it doesn't smell or anything. I don't know. Why is it called Trash Truck? We should know, but this is an important coveted segment in Los Angeles, and you forget that it's called Trash Truck, and we look like idiots to the rest of the world. Those speed bumps are new. They've recently closed it to cars, which is pretty great, and it kind of leads up to Mount Hollywood, so it's okay that he's on the wrong side of the yellow here. I would call this kind of a pure VO2 effort. This is, I think, 3 to 5 minutes. Also very easy to overpace. It's a VO2 is kind of like a climber's sprint, because the effort doesn't catch up to your legs during the effort, if that makes sense. You're not going to feel it until it's too late. So this is one it's really important to know what you're capable of for the 3 to 5 minutes and stay within that. You do one lap wrong in individual pursuit and you pay for it 6 laps later. But so far you're keeping a pretty steady, close to 400, high 3s, and I think that's fine. And the gradient here, it does kick a little bit towards the end, so it's a good one. If you overpace, you will pay for it. One thing I say about PRs, do look for places that you can recover. Look for maybe call it a bailout point. When I did Roca Corba, I knew there was 2 downhills, so I was sort of ready. Okay, I can push this little bit, and then I can shake my legs out on this next part, and I'll still have gas for the last 5 minutes. And there's certain spots where you can sort of adjust your effort. Maybe there's a 2% gradient. It's okay, I've been going a little bit too hard. The first few minutes, I'm gonna use this light gradient to recover, and the recovery isn't going to be coasting, but the recovery might be 300 instead of 400 watts, and that will make a difference later on. When you're doing your efforts, when you're doing your tests, use the same hill. You want to, if you have access to a hill. If not, you want the flattest, straightest road possible. Try to find the steady conditions. I'd say most pros have here's the hill they do their tests on, and at least it's relative to yourself, and that's really the whole point. Good, yeah, you stood up at the end. Maybe you had a little bit more. If a lot of times, for me personally, if I have the gas to actually sprint, I like to just be completely fallen apart at the very end. And I feel if I had a snap in me, I probably could have burned that somewhere else. But that's how you know you're giving it everything. When you collapse, yeah. One thing to think about is, and this applies to doing multiple intervals in a day or multiple training days in a week, the progression should be the shortest efforts to the longest efforts. So when you're super fresh, the best sprint I would see all year would be right after a month off. That's the best 5 seconds I'd ever touch. But my threshold, my hour-long power, would be garbage then. So over the course of the year, you work on that. But I would say the sprint first, the VO2 next, and the 20 minutes after. So if you're doing those the same day, that's the case. If you're doing those the same week, do your sprint workouts on a Tuesday, your VO2 is on a Wednesday, your threshold tempo, whatever, on a Thursday. And I'd say the last simple tip is give yourself a chance, have sort of a periodized training program. Go into it rested. Like a lot of folks, I think, especially new riders go and they think like, I'm going to smash every day, and what you'll find, you'll have some good days with that, but you'll never be able to predict when the good days will come. If you want to predict it, you do a build, you do a rest, you do a build, you do a rest, you repeat, and you'll just see these kind of steady improvements that over the course of time really will add up.